then a folder will be created, Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, Adobe Reader, right? Microsoft Office, when you install, right? But if you go on the C drive program file, lot of software application and the folder has been created already. Whatever you have downloaded, you might have not seen it, because what happens is these are your desktop applications, and this application has been designed because they are not taking much space. Might be 1 dB, 2 dB, 3 dB, right? That's the reason. And you don't need to change any backend file and folders. Whatever changes you do open the software, and on the software GUI console only you do the changes. Usually you don't go you never go on the C drive and program file and open the folder and make any changes. That's why you are not bothered about it, and you don't know also. And those software have been developed in such a way so that any layman who does not have much knowledge of computer and everything can use it, right? And those software lightweight, like 1 GB, 2 GB, 3 GB. So that's the reason by default are being stored on C drive program file. Yes or no? It is not like 100 GB, 200 GB. So people ask, okay, whether you have storage or not on C drive, or you have to plan it out under which drive you have to install. Usually you will have that much of drive space. If you don't have it, give the error that you don't have drive space. Right? Otherwise, it will directly get installed. So you don't need to plan it before deployment, because it is just 2 GB, right? But you can see Splunk is a enterprise level of software application, right? And it is not, yes or no, software application that multiple people are going to access. Any enterprise application that you deploy, usually we deploy in the server, right? And it will take the huge space because we are going to store the logs also. So terabyte of logs we are going to store. Yes or no? So as I said, by default, any software you install, it will get installed on C drive in the program file. But it is not certain whether under C drive you have that much of space or not. Understand? So when you install a Splunk, that also it will show you default part under C drive in program file, but you have option to change the drive. If you want to install on D drive or E drive, whatever you have, you can install under that, because you have to do the pre-planning on which drive you are going to install, whether that drive have the enough space. Have you added the space? Because it will take terabyte of space, right? You are going to store all your logs, right? 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 years log you are going to store on that drive, right? Hot bucket, warm bucket, cold bucket. Yes or no? So you have to plan it out. So you cannot blindly install under C drive program file. You have to manage whether that particular drive and that particular folder is having that much of space. So you have the option to change the path. Otherwise, by default, will get installed a C drive program file. So you can plan it out under which folder, which drive you are going to install, right? Let's say Splunk has been installed by default, or you have also selected C drive. Okay, C drive program file, right? You are installing our C drive program file. Okay. So by default, the size of the Splunk installable is around 500, 600 MB. But you know that you are going to create so many resources like correlation rule reports and all, will take a lot of spaces. Apart from that, you are going to collect the logs, will take a lot of spaces, terabyte of spaces, right? So accordingly, you have to plan it out. Understand? Let's say you plan it out and you are storing on the default path. During the installation only, once you install, download the setup file and launch it, it will open the wizard. That time it will ask you whether you want to go the default path or you want to select any custom path. That time you can select if you want to install any different drive or different folder. Okay. So once you install, so you know what folder will be created in the C drive in the program file, and this folder will be created, a Splunk folder. What? A Splunk folder. Understand? A Splunk folder will be created. So any software that you install, right? For example, you are installing Google Chrome. Under C drive and program file, the Google Chrome folder will be created. Similarly, Splunk folder will be created. Under Google folder, you will see subfolders, history, bookmarks, cache, cookies, password, credentials, right? This kind of folder you will see, and different things has been stored, images, downloads. If you ever seen, you will see every software install and have different files, right? So you'll have different folder will be created under the main folder. Understand? Clear my point? What I'm saying, everybody? Everybody is clear? So similarly, Splunk is also software. So folder will be created Splunk. Under Splunk folder, there are subfolder. In the Windows, we call as folders. In Linux, we call as directories. Right. So usually your Splunk architecture, like your indexers and search head will be installed on Linux. Right. So this folder architecture we call a directory structure. Directory structure means how many folder and how the structure has been created, which are the subfolders are there, inside that what is there, what are the subfolders. This complete hierarchy we call as directory structure, right? So I'm going to explain you under the Splunk what are the different folders and what all information will be there on different folders. Okay, that we call as Splunk directory structure. Why we call it directory? Because folders in the Linux we call it directory. Okay, so this complete path, this path where it is installed, this path is called as Splunk home. What we call as Splunk home. This is the home of the Splunk. Splunk is coming from here, born from here, right? C drive, program file, and here. This till here you call as Splunk home. Splunk home can be C drive or D drive under direct Splunk, right? If you have not given program file, direct folder will be created. So whatever, wherever Splunk has been installed, this folder we call as what? Splunk home. You just write this, then I will directly draw the structure from Splunk directory. Written. So in this, so this architecture, what I'm discussing is you call it Splunk directory structure. What it is called as Splunk directory structure. Splunk directory structure. Okay. Call it Splunk directory structure.
Okay, please write one second.
Huh?
So before that, I didn't write that.
Before that, that was a Splunk home path.
Yes, that one I didn't note it down. Can you
I'll
please,
send you in the chat.
He will
okay,
send
thank you.
Splunk directory structure. You should have asked me, right, why I was deleting. You asked also written. You did not respond. So Splunk directory structure. Okay. So you know what? Before writing this, let me explain you. You know what? Let's say this is a server which is 192.168.0.25, let's say, right? On which you have installed a Splunk Enterprise. During the installation, it is a Splunk Enterprise only, right? Splunk Enterprise only, right? So once it has been installed, we still call it Splunk Enterprise because all our functionality we configure receiving and forwarding, it will be called as heavy forwarder. We configure only receiving and indexing, it will call indexer. Only searching, it will call as search head, right? So right now, what we install? Only Splunk Enterprise inside that. So once we install a Splunk Enterprise, we can access this Splunk Enterprise using web browser. How? Using web browser, we can open the web browser and type http://192. This is not a part of this. This is differently I'm explaining you right now. Later I will explain this 192.168.0.25 and port number 8000. So Splunk web port number is 8000. Means if you have to access Splunk web, this is called as Splunk web. When we access Splunk Enterprise using web, this is called as Splunk web, right? So Splunk web port number is 8000. When we have to access Splunk web, we have to enter after IP address colon port number 8000. This is a default port number. So Splunk web 8000. So we can use Splunk, we can access Splunk Enterprise using web browser that we call as Splunk web. Okay, so all Splunk Enterprise functions we can see using web browser that we call as Splunk web. So under setting, we can see various options. So under setting, if you want to make a high forwarder, right? Indexer, searcher, right? A lot of settings are there. But you know what happens? In the console that we call Splunk Web, Splunk has not given all the options. In the GUI that we call as graphical user interface, which we call as Splunk Web, Splunk has not given all the configuration option, all the settings. You know, Splunk is a very complex tool. It has hell lot of settings, hell lot of configuration you can change, highly customizable tool. So lot of if you create, for example, if you create any index, new index, right? More than 100 different settings you can change, you can modify, more than 100. You know that. While you have option in the Splunk Web to create new index, but you have only few options to change, to modify, to configure. You won't see much option in the GUI. And a lot of settings which are not being given in the GUI. Why the option has not been given in the GUI? To make the GUI simple and user friendly. Splunk has not given all settings on the GUI because it was not only about the indexes. There are a lot of other configuration, other settings are there. If Splunk will give all the settings and configuration changes option on the GUI become very complex, will not be the user friendly anymore. Understand? So Splunk has given only the setting and the configuration which you generally frequently change, which generally frequently changes required, right? Which you use it. Only those changes or settings have been given on the Splunk Web, not all the configuration changes. Are you getting a point? Then how we can do the changes? That question arises. But you understood what I'm saying, everybody? What I'm saying, you understand what I said? So how we can change then all the configuration? You know, you understand what do you mean by configuration? Everybody knows, right? Settings, right?
Yes.
Settings.
Yes.
Settings.
Yes,
Configuration means settings. Okay. So then how we can change the remaining configuration, all the configuration? So Splunk, there are three ways to configure or to make the configuration changes. There are three ways. One is through Splunk Web. One is through Splunk Web. That is this, right? Splunk Web. But Splunk Web do not have all the options, right? But certain options you will get a Splunk Web. Another is through CLI, means command line interface. Splunk can be accessed through CLI also. You see black color window, right? In Microsoft Windows also you have CMD, command prompt, right? So in Windows, if you have installed the Splunk, you can access Splunk using command prompt. What? Sanu Sharma, you have any question? Sanu Sharma, you have any question? Why you are unmuting? Why people are unmuting
No,
mic?
sir. No
Why you are
questions.
unmuting
No
mic without
questions.
question?
No questions, sir. I just rejoined the meeting.
So second option is through CLI, right? Command prompt, black color window. Through that we can enter the we can access our Splunk and make the configuration changes, right? So you understand? Splunk Web, we do not have all the configuration changes option, right? Few we have that we frequently check. Similarly, command line also, Splunk has certain commands. We want to start Splunk, I want to restart, stop command, right? And certain configuration changes I want to do. There are certain commands are available on the Splunk to run through CLI. But in the CLI also, we do not have all the options, all the command to make the configuration changes. Means all configuration we cannot change using CLI also. Only certain commands it is having to make the changes. Then how we can change all the configuration? You know what? Whenever we do any configuration changes, either through Splunk Web or through CLI, Splunk store those configurations on the backend file. Inside the Splunk home, means Splunk folder will be created. Inside that, it will store the configuration on the flat files, on the conf file name is .conf. On the .conf flat notepad kind of file, it will store the configuration. If you change the configuration here, it will change in the backend file actually. Notepad kind of file. I'll be showing you Notepad kind of file where configuration will be written. You change through CLI and it will change the backend configuration file. Are you getting what I'm saying? Under C drive program file where you install right now, and Splunk folder, and inside subfolder is there for configuration where particular configuration file will get changed and configuration will get changed. Getting my point? You are changing from here or here, it is actually changing in the file. That file end with .conf. .conf name will be there for file and extension is .conf, means .configuration. Are you getting a point? .conf file, right? So .conf file means configuration file. So what happens is Splunk will store the configuration in the backend configuration files, right? Under directory structure, we'll have configuration file. So either you do it from here or here, it will actually change on the backend configuration file. So what happens is you have a limited option here. Not all the configuration, no, you also have certain commands here. If you want to make any configuration change, all the configuration changes options available on this .conf file. We can directly go on the C drive program file in Splunk and go select particular configuration file and edit the configuration file directly. We can write the configuration and save the file. Configuration will get changed. Understand? Are you getting what I'm saying? All the configuration available in the .conf file means backend configuration file. Anyways, whether you change from here or here, it is going to be there here only. So directly go here and make the changes and save the file. It will reflect here in the GUI directly. Are you getting a point what I'm saying? So there are three ways to change the configuration. One is Splunk Web, CLI, and third is directly editing the backend configuration file. Directly editing, making the changes to backend configuration file in the backend under C drive and the program file and the Splunk folder. Backend configuration file will be there. Directly you go and edit, it will get changed. And in the backend configuration file, you have all the configuration available, changes options available. Lot of configuration. So you can make what configuration you want to make the changes. You can go and edit and save the file. Config will get changed.
So that is done as commands or script.
It's a notepad kind of file. It's a file. I'm saying file, notepad kind of file.
Yeah,
where you
but
can go
in
and edit.
file we write, what do we write?
Right, notepad kind of file. So there's a syntax. There's a
Syntax, yeah.
Like how you write the programming, right?
Yes.
Programming, you have printf, void main, then bracket. If you forget the bracket, program will not run. Only if you do not follow the syntax of writing configuration, your changes will not be implemented.
Correct.
By directly editing the directly editing.
So, sir, these syntax are in any particular language or how? I mean,
those syntax are in human language only.
English language.
You will understand. You human. You said US. Human. I mean, of course, Splunk will understand in some different language. Will be converting some backend, some different language, but we write in the human language only. Backend file is actually written in a human language, understanding language, but there's some syntax. We call it Stanza. By directly editing the backend configuration file.
Sir, any difference for Windows and Linux based? Or same?
No, directory structure will remain 100% same. No difference. Either you install on Linux or Windows, same to same directory structure. I will tell you. Under Splunk folder, that is same to same. By directly editing the backend configuration files.
Is it only one file or there are many files?
I'm going to tell you. I'm telling you. So you can write a heading on this, how to change the Splunk configuration. So there are three ways to change the Splunk configuration. So Splunk Web, CLI, or by directly editing the backend.
sir, just one question. This backend file is in Splunk home under the directories or the
Right. I'm going to tell you which directory it will be. But Splunk home and Splunk folder, it will be. At which subfolder, I'll be telling you in the directory structure. But it will be under Splunk directory, only Splunk folder only. Okay. Got it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Slowly, slowly try to understand, okay? Everybody, anybody here out here who are not understanding? Anybody out here out of 93 people? Okay, understood everybody. Okay, good, great. So understand, right? Okay. So, written. You know what? If we install on the Windows, usually you install under C drive under program file, right? Program file. Sorry, क्या कर देंगे? Program file under C drive program file, then Splunk, right? This is called as Splunk Home, right? And if you install under on Linux, right, then under /opt /Splunk. This is called as Splunk Home in Linux. That /opt/Splunk. This is called as Splunk Home, and here this is called as Splunk Home, right? Whatever subfolder will be there, this is called as Splunk directory structure, right? Will remain same. Under this and under this, all subfolder means subdirectory will remain same. That is what I'm going to explain you here now. Okay. So either you work on Linux or Windows, same to same directory structure. It is very important from admin perspective, actually. This is very important from administrator job, not from analyst. This is completely from admin perspective. Splunk admin. Okay. So what happens in this Splunk Home? There are three main important folders, means directory. What are those three? Here you will have three main directories.
So this is for Windows, right?
Either I said right, Windows or Linux both remain same.
Okay.
Same to same. After a Splunk folder, all remain same. Either Windows or Linux, both. Bin, etc. Where living Splunk. Bin, bin, bin. It is bin. It is bin. Executable files. Okay. Splunk configuration files.
So what is the first one you wrote it? Like
bin, bin. Sorry यार, वो थोड़ा टाइपिंग अच्छे से नहीं हुई शायद. bin. वैसे मेरी राइटिंग अच्छी है नहीं.
मेरे से तो अच्छे है सर.
Splunk, I was feeling happy. I mean, in my childhood, my writing was not good. I was so sad that my writing is not good. But when I started working, I realized that everybody is using laptop, computer. I felt good that, okay, it's very good nowadays. We are not writing on the papers. Now everybody is same. My friends were having very good writing. I was always thinking that my writing is not good. After joining the IT, I realized, okay, everybody is using the computer now. There's no competition of handwriting. I was feeling happy. Okay, that's a good thing that There is no competition of writing.
So
But now
what's the
again,
second
But
one?
Destiny is different plan.
second is
Content is
Splunk
important.
configuration files. etc. Splunk configuration files. And this is where lib and Splunk. And now again your writing is started. But no competition right now. Splunk
Monopoly.
database. Especially for handwriting, I'm talking about. What I'm writing, if you understand, that's okay. That's only my objective. Splunk database. Splunk do not use any database. However, here in the Splunk folder, actually, what is being installed is Splunk indexes. Splunk indexes will be stored in this Splunk folder. So that's the reason it's called as database. This complete folder is called as path is called as Splunk database. But actually, Splunk do not use any database, right? Splunk uses the flat files, right, which are raw data and TSIDX file. But path is Splunk called as Splunk database. What to do now? Splunk saying we do not use any database, but path name is giving Splunk database. Okay, what is written in the official document that only we have to teach here, right?
So under Splunk, is there another folder, Splunk indexes, or
I will tell you. Right now written.
yes?
Written?
Sir, one question.
Yes, sir.
I just got dropped off due to Zoom issue. So is
Mhm.
this the installation of the Splunk agent on the end servers or the actual Splunk
Splunk Enterprise.
application for
When you
okay,
install
for the
Splunk
collection
Enterprise,
of data?
when you install Splunk Enterprise, right? Splunk Enterprise, either SearchHead, IndexR, or anything, or a Splunk Enterprise.
Okay,
only.
okay.
So I'm just telling you, it will get installed under C drive, program file, or maybe any drive. So Splunk folder will be created. So in a Splunk folder, there will be many subdirectory. We call it subfolder or subdirectory, you can tell, right? So what are different subdirectory and what information will be stored? But it is so important for us from admin perspective because we added those information. We should know where the configuration are being stored, what information is being stored where, being an admin. Okay.
जिसमें मैंने मिक्स बीफ लिया है